He asked you what kind of competitive pairings that you think of that you think has a chance of being competitive, and you gave us a combination for every single faction pairing that exists in the game.
Hello and welcome to the Forgeborn Finishing School. Casey, Kid, and Core here. We'll be analyzing Forgeborn battles to help take your game to the next level.
All right, everyone, welcome back. This week we have a couple of things to go over before we get into the rest of the episode. Upcoming events, Greg, we have some of the usual stuff. One thing I want to talk about, well, not some of the usual stuff, I should say, FuseFest we've talked about for a while, and then the Nebraska event. I'll let you give those details. I did want to talk really quick about the Australian Digital Client event that just happened this week. There were 6 players, but it's a burgeoning new community. Honestly, I think that it's fairly new. We have members from Australia coming out. It's really cool to see them reach out on Discord. And the new content creators as well, Forge. I'll have a link for their YouTube or content creation channel in the video description below. Everyone check it out. Give them all the support we can so we can get more content going out for this amazing game. And then Nebraska. Greg, you're on your way there shortly?
Yeah, so the Upside Down, Brandon, is hosting the Great Plains Game Festival Sealed events in Lincoln, Nebraska on March 23rd. I'll be driving up there to participate in it. It's about a 2.5 hour drive, should be fun. Get to hang out with him and Joel and Nolan. And it's part of the Great Plains Game Festival convention. So to get into it, you'll just need to pay for the badge. Sounds like you can get a single day badge for about $30, and the entry to the sealed event is free, so you'll get a free deck out of it. Sounds like there's gonna be some prize support as well, so it should be a lot of fun. And if you head out there, you get to hang out with me, which is awesome. And then the other event,
I think Nolan and Joel and Brandon were the higher upside there, Greg. But
I mean, probably.
just messing with you.
I mean, you're not wrong. And then FuseFest 2, again, highlight me. I'll be driving up there, but no, not the highlight. But that's going to be April 27th up in the Twin Cities, St. Paul, Minnesota. And that should be a lot of fun as well. Like, I'm really looking forward to this. This is, everybody's always talked about the FuseFest experience, and I was not part of the community at that time. So this should be really awesome. There's a lot of people signed up for it. I think we're up to 29 now at this point. Hopefully we'll get more people traveling up there. Ryan, I know you're working on trying to get people, and other people as well are trying this as well, trying to get a group together for just hanging out, food, chit-chatting, social events the night before on Friday. And that is some information in the Discord. You want to talk about that, Ron?
Yeah, I was just going to say, jump in the Stoneblade official Discord. They were nice enough to create us a thread or a channel to kind of discuss that. So I think we actually have our own channel in there that's got a thread, that's got Meetup, and there's some other threads in there to kind of talk FuseFest stuff. The only other thing I really want to plug is that, like, FuseFest is, in my opinion, and the first FuseFest was, and I'm fairly confident the second FuseFest is, knowing Church, it's all about community. It's all about meeting people, having a fun time. It's not going to be Worlds event Gen Con, right? You're going to see all of the same players, but that's because we're all the players that love this game, and all the players that were at Worlds love this game. They're going to be there. But it really is just a community-driven or oriented event. Just get together, have some fun, break some bread, play some games. So if there's any bit of you that's worried about the aspect of playing the game, please don't. Just show up, have some fun, smash some decks together and play. That's what it's all about. So it is going to be a great time. And it's going to be all the last winner, Greg, set 3. There's going to be no joining of, set 1 or set 2 into that. So talking about the last winner, we have Nick Fletcher, a.k.a. Nicklypuff, here on the call, lead developer for the last winner. So, Nick, if you want to introduce yourself, take it away.
Hi everyone, so I'm Nick Fletcher. I am one of the lead designers for Solforge Fusion expansions. For specifically, we're discussing the last winter here. Yeah, it was my first set that I ever designed. It was really the first expansion to any game or any game design that I ever did that is going to get released to the public. So I'm really excited to get it in people's hands.
I know we're super excited to dig into this set and really get into it because I mean, you've been involved with Solforge Fusion for some time. You know, you're one of the faces that we as community members get to talk to a little bit and discuss things with. So I think over the times in our discussions, we've gotten a little bit of your design philosophy, just kind of through the comments you've made or the opinions you've stanced, or you know, the rule changes that you've helped been a part of and things of that nature. But this is the first set where you really get to take it away. So if you could just kind of delve into what is that design philosophy, what were Stoneblade striving for with the last winter, as far as like gameplay and card mechanics?
Yeah. So there were 3 core principles that we really focused on for the last winter. The first was to really emphasize the storyline into the game. I'm personally a very top-down designer, which means that I like to focus on theme and story and see how that can be integrated into a design. So the way that we did that was we focused a lot on the exalts, because exalts are a really important part of the story at this point in Soulforge. We also focused on the story of the introduction of the blight into the actual game now, and introducing the idea of Forgeborn becoming corrupted by the blight into the set. And another fun thing we did was, because the ice is melting away, there are these, not only are there these ancient exalts that exist under the ice, but there are also these spirits that exist under the ice. So there's a flora of spirits throughout the set in the last winter. The second principle is we wanted to build off of the exalt mechanics from the Battle for White Fang Pass. And to do that, we introduced Forgeborn that put exalts into play. We introduced mechanics like the energy counters that go onto the exalts to give them an ability that has a little bit of a timer on them, for example, by spending the energy counters. And we also introduced the exalted keyword, which empowers a creature whenever it's in a lane with an exalt. And the third and final principle we really focusing on was to lean into cross-faction pairings and finding new mechanical handholds throughout the set. One of the great parts about Soulforge is that it's a game where you just grab a box and you can pair any 2 decks together. And I think that really the idea of pairing decks together should emphasize mechanical themes that connect with each other throughout the set. So we really wanted to focus on that, and we also took a lot of principles that other games use for like sealed or draft play, so that finding the little hooks that you can find throughout each set that you would want to put together is really a principle that we wanted to add to the set, moving from set 3 and going forward.
Nice. Yeah, first thing is awesome. Love the cat. Got a cat in the video. Second, I really like the synergistic pairing approach that you're looking at in this set, because yeah, that's one of the funnest things. I think one of the funnest things in this game is like looking at the different pairings and how can you mash them together and do all these, you know, fun combos or getting cards to play into each other. So for this set, you know, what do you think is going to be one of the more competitive synergy options out there, or pairings or play styles or play lines you can go down that you think will kind of show up on the top?
Yeah. I think one that shows a lot of promise is the Aloy and Utera pairing, which is focused on upgrading cards. there's a lot of cards in this pairing that trigger every time you upgrade a card, and of course cards that will allow you to upgrade. And a lot of the cards that will allow you to upgrade will also allow you to do some other things on top of that. As you can see here, we have the Metamind Warden. The Metamind Warden has an activate ability, which gives a creature minus attack. And then every time you upgrade a card, you get to ready the Metamind Warden, which really can help it lock down your opponent's board and really disrupt their game plans. And then you see here with the Utera card, we have Preserved Habitat, which allows you to upgrade a card. And also every time you upgrade a card, the creature in the lane gains more attack and health. It's a really powerful synergy because we put in payoffs for the upgrades, not just upgrading as a mechanic, but now we actually have payoffs for upgrading cards. And upgrading can help your deck just get better because as the game goes on, you'll have more level 2 cards and more level 3 cards in your deck, which will help build off of the theme as well.
I think this really showcases one of the things we saw with Set 1 Life Gain, in that a lot of synergies you're looking for, as you kind of said, like a trigger and a payoff. But in really, really good synergistic pairings, you're really kind of getting 3 things out of it. So like let's say in Life Gain, when you play the card that gains you life, typically it's a Necrim card that's taking life or it's damaging a creature, right? So we're going to say that's two gains right there. The taking of life, the gaining of life. That seems really good right off the bat. And then you have a kindred creature in play that gives you that third aspect. I think that's one of the things that made it so good. And now what we're looking at here with this upgrade mechanic you've just showed us is I'm allowed to take your stats away. I get to upgrade my card, and I get to give my creature stats, right? My fingers are kind of out of the frame and everything here, but that's three different bonuses for one play per se. And so I think we're trying, or what we're seeing is approaching the efficacy of some of the earlier powerful synergies. So when he threw out what do you think is going to be competitive, when you said Aloyan Utera, and then it's upgrading it, I could probably guess there's a lot of older players in Solforge Fusion that are going, oh no, we've seen this before, this can't, but here it is. I think, like I said, 3 bonuses. That's really cool.
Yep. And as we had events where players got to play with cards early, and also just through the season where we were previewing a lot of cards before the Kickstarter, we had the Cultivating Guardian Utera creature, which every time you upgrade a card, you get to play a creature for free, which just adds so much more value to the deck.
Yeah, I missed all of those events. Greg, you were able to play in some of them, but you entertained me by playing a couple matches, and that was a card that showed up big.
Yeah, I like the cultivating. Yeah, and you have just these 3 off of 2 cards, and so when you and it's similar to, again, going back to the life gain synergy, there are other cards that you could have in play that benefit off it, right? It wasn't just the Kindred; it could be a Glow Hive, or it's maybe not the Glow Hive. It could be the Exras Will, or a card that plays for free after gaining it. In this case, you could have the Cultivating Druid out, or you have another card that also benefits off of these upgrades as well, because these aren't just the only 2, right? We've seen, as you mentioned, the Cultivating card as well as many others. So it'll be interesting because upgrading cards in one way, doesn't count as upgrading, but we see it similarly in Set 1 and Set 2 off of cards that give you free plays, because not only you're playing the card for free, you're upgrading for later on. That's why Talisman makes such a huge impact. Again, is you're getting that disparity, not necessarily with Talisman, but other cards, you're getting that disparity of having a more leveled up cards than your opponent, which then itself creates an advantage later on. So I guess where I'm going at is it seems like you're going to get more of an immediate impact now and still be strengthened for later, which is, I think, what the upgrade was kind of missing in Sets 1 and 2.
Yeah, definitely. So we have this Aloyan Uteran. What other kind of so we were talking about like synergies. Now this upgrade synergy, this might be an actual viable path to competitive play, whereas before, as Greg just mentioned, like you didn't have the immediate payoff, so you oftentimes fell too far behind early in the game and you weren't able to keep pace to get to the later game. This is looking like that's maybe being adjusted in this energy type. Obviously is going to pay off. Are there other combinations of cards or dual combination cards that throughout your playtesting or development that you kind of saw and were excited about, thought could be competitive or just a ton of fun?
Another really exciting pairing that we had was the Tempest Utera pairing. That one seems like it has a bit of a potential to be really strong. I think especially within a limited format. The way that it works is that whenever a creature gains attack, they'll often trigger some sort of ability, or there are card effects that are looking for your creatures to have increased attack. So examples we have here, we have the Mount of Heroes, which you activate it to deal damage to your creature in that lane, and then you can give attack to all of your creatures on the board. And then we have the Ardent Mastodon, which at level 3 activates, and it'll give it +3/+3 for each of your creatures that have increased attack in play. The Mastodon was really a big dev concern near the end of the set, and initially it was activate at every level, but it just became too much, so we had to make the level 1 and level 2 deploy abilities and the level 3 the activate ability.
This being activate is scary. It's very scary because there are quite a few ready cards in set 3, at least comparatively to, I think, the one that we have in set 1, Everflame Aura.
There's Lead the Charge.
Oh yeah, how could I forget Lead the Charge,
and,
Greg?
Scythian Augmentation as well.
So this has a fuse word on it, Ardent, right? So I assume in green there's a way to give this breakthrough off of a fuse word, and then this gets really ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I also really like the plant dinosaur creature combination mixture there. That could unlock a little bit of fun. Set 2, I think just kind of we dabbled our toes into what plant synergy could be. And we all know dinosaur synergy is the funnest to play in the game.
Yeah.
So I know we've seen some of them. I'm just really curious on here because the card that I've been enjoying lately is Thunder Crash Field, which seems to pair well into this. Is that being reprinted in the last winter? Are you able to tell us that?
So part of our design philosophy for set 3 was that we did not want to reprint any of the normal Exalts, only the ones that had soul binds with them. That allowed us to have a lot more space to explore with the Exalt mechanic through the set rather than reintroducing cards. And also it gives players an ability to take set 2 decks that they thought, this is okay, and then they now have the set 3 deck to pair with it, and they'll have the perfect deck for that set 2 deck.
So the Thunder Crash Field is out, Greg, is what I'm hearing, but Rumble Spark Energy is in. Can you confirm or deny that?
Rumble Spark Energy. What is the text on that card? I have so many cards
it's
that I've designed since.
Nova
it's the soul
Elementalist.
bind for Nova Elementalist.
That card is not in. Nope.
Oh, there's been some.
It almost snuck into the set, but we decided that point in development was about the time where cards were starting to get we were able to see tournament results.
Oh, okay.
And Krogius used to be in the set as well, but we decided that Krogius and Rumble Spark we're not going to introduce them again in set 3.
Yeah, I mean, but to your point though, like somebody, I could see a Nova deck with Thunder Crash Field pairing well into one of these green decks.
Yeah.
Part of it could be a lot of fun, giving you some different options. So that is nice seeing that in that design space, as you talked about, like giving options for older decks as well, still being into that space.
Absolutely.
And speaking about Thunder Crash Field, we can talk about the Aloyan and Tempest pairing, which is as the set as a whole is Exalt matter, but Aloyan and Tempest have the greatest concentration on Exalt matter effects in the set. So as we can see here, we have the Gox Metamind Paragon. He has 2 attack, not really exciting. 13 health, that's pretty good. But he has Activate ability, which whenever you activate him, all your creatures and lanes with Exalts get +5 attack, which can get pretty out of hand after a turn or 2. And then we have the Echoing Rager here. So the Rager part provides the Exalted Aggressive, and for those that don't know, Exalted means while this creature is in a lane with an Exalt, it gains whatever ability is after the Exalted keyword. And then it has Activate if Activate, and you can play an Exalt for free from your hand. So these 2 pair together, and Gox himself brings in an Exalt when he gets played on level 1. That also allows you to play another free Exalt if you transform that Soulbind Exalt. So there's a lot of ways to really just fill up your lanes with Exalts and empower your creatures with the blue-red pairing.
In the echoing now, that's a forge word that could be assigned to any base creature as a modifier to give that at level 3 activate plain exalt for free.
Yep.
That opens up a lot of options. I love to see a very powerful keyword like that, but it's also in what is seemingly a niche use. So obviously, I assume the algorithm is going to require the deck to at least have 1 native exalt to have an echoing.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
But
It looks like it's
be a lot of fun.
Common.
Yep, it's a common keyword. So yeah, So it was interesting because we wanted to emphasize that Exalts mattered for Tempest in the set. And if you have you have the requirement that you need an Exalt in the deck, and then you also would make it a rare, that would make this keyword show up a lot less than your average rare word. So we decided to move that to common to make it show up more in the set.
Nice. I love hearing those little pieces of insight behind, because as soon as, Greg, you mentioned that's a common, I was like, oh, wow, this thing's going to be around a lot. But then hearing that background piece of information, that makes absolute sense. And that's very interesting to hear. I appreciate those little levels of insight that show how deep, the process goes of developing these things. None of us assume it's easy, but that's getting down deep into the weeds to make sure that the gameplay represents the story as you want it to, like you just kind of earlier alluded to, which is pretty fun.
Yeah. Yep. So Aloyan and Tempest, it's a really exciting pairing. Another really exciting one that I had a lot of fun with and I really love personally is the Necrium Tempest pairing. So that pairing is the Sacrifice pairing. So in previous sets, a lot of times we focused on spell synergies between Necrium and Tempest, but we wanted to really take a different approach this time around just to make it feel different. So we went with effects that have you damage or destroy your own creatures, and then payoffs for whenever one of your creatures are destroyed. So we have the Explosive Demise, which allows you to destroy one of your creatures to give all of your enemy creatures minus attack and minus health. So it basically takes the effect of Epidemic and turns it into an enemy-only effect as long as you sacrifice one of your own creatures to use it. And then we have here the Lava Field Watchdog, which is a 9/7 at level 3. It has Breakthrough. And when you play it, if you have a creature in play that one of your creatures in play had been destroyed that turn, it will get +10 attack to become a 19 attack creature with Breakthrough.
I have a lot of thoughts on these, but my first question has to be, since we're already delving into, is this card reprinted? One of my favorite set one cards that I think fit the exact mold of like a balanced card and was a ton of fun to play was Broodfang.
Hmm.
Is there any chance we get to see that come back in set three?
We do not have that card in the set
Okay.
because we have a very similar Necrium card in the set that
Ooh.
does a similar thing on. It's a forge creature that has a deploy ability that has a similar effect to the Brood Fang. So we didn't want to have too many of that effect in the set.
Outstanding. Yeah, that makes sense. And then my other comment, explosive demise reminds me. You kind of mentioned epidemic and Grave Pact marrying up, but the first thing that triggers in my head, if there's anyone out there who's an old Diablo player and played any of those things, is the necromancer walking around corpse explosion. That's exactly what plays in my head when I saw this card, which is really cool. I always tried to make that strategy work in that game, and it was never top tier competitive. But if I could just kill a couple things and then start a chain reaction of exploding bodies,
Yeah.
that was a goal of mine. So
Yeah. Yep. And this was also a theme that impacted the algorithm. So in previous sets, like an effect like Stampeding Mongosaur, which is in this set, we're not counting towards sacrifice effects. So it would not be able to pull in an effect that played off of when your creature is being destroyed. But with this set, we actually went back and changed all the cards that got reprinted so that they would feature those cards within their half decks.
oh, awesome! Stampeding Mongosaur was God, always a good card. Always happy to see that one. It goes phenomenally well, and you're right. Yeah, like you damage your own creature. And I think it's is it unstable or no, sorry, reckless, the other modifier. That when this comes into play, you get an overstated creature, but you got to do 3 damage to one of your creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of times I use that stuff to proc Broodfang.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're gonna see a lot heavier representation of that kind of gameplay in this set.
Nice. So that's a good thing just to kind of re-specify is that not only with the sets are you guys creating new cards, but you're going back and tweaking the algorithm to get it to generate the half decks you want to represent the set.
Yeah, yeah. The algorithm is definitely a tool that whoever is lead designing the set needs to really tap into, because it gives them the chance to really feature what they want in the set.
Yeah, it makes it. It seems to me like one of the things I liked about set one is it felt a lot more synergy, like a lot more things kind of connected with each other, and so it seems like we're getting a lot of that in this set, which is going to make, I think, in my opinion, going to make it a lot of fun. Like,
Yeah,
seeing cards click together is awesome.
yeah, yeah. Part of the goal of introducing a lot of these sort of interactions and synergies between the factions was to really make sealed play just stand out really well, and I think that this set is the best set for sealed play so far.
I'm excited.
So yeah, we can talk about another pairing here. So we can talk a bit about the Necrium and Utera pairing. So as I said earlier, we feature a lot of spirits in the set. There's spirits in every faction in the set, but similar to how Exalts matter in the set and Loin and Tempest really key in on that, Necrium and Utera really key in on the spirit themes in the set. So the way that the spirit theme works for Necrium and Utera is they care about you having spirits in your banished pile, since the whole theme is sort of like there's spirits that are haunting the lands as the ice melts away. We really wanted to represent that in a gameplay way, so we have it so that they count how many spirits are in your banished pile. So here we have the Combat Terror, which is a forged creature, and at level 1, it's if you have 1 spirit in your banished pile. At level 2, it's if you have 2 spirits in your banished pile. At level 3, it's if you have 3 spirits in your banished pile. If you meet that threshold, then it'll give a significant buff to the attack and health of one of your creatures. And then we have the Shepherding Willow, which has a similar 1, 2, 3 structure to it. and it has an activate ability at level 3, which gains you 5 health if you have 3 spirits in your banish pile.
Nice, the activate ability, that's strong, and I'm looking forward to the spirits, the combo. Like I'm really wanting to do something with that, and I think we've seen it. The Blight Skull Bomb is back, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
That's a good
Yes.
Yep. And also, a fun thing with this pairing is it also plays pretty well with the previous pairing that we talked about with the sacrifice theme, because you want to have spirits in your banish pile, so you could deal damage to one of your spirits and put it in the banish pile, or you could destroy one of your spirits to do something with the effect. And it also pairs pretty well with the Aloy and Utera pairing, with the Utera cards that upgrade your creatures. You can upgrade the spirit and put it in your banish pile to really fuel this strategy.
One thing that I really like is something you pointed out. I actually took a note down here to kind of like lock it into my memory. Because the story is another one of the big aspects of this game that I just love. The storyline events, getting to have your hand in it. And we've seen throughout all the last winter spoilers, and I know we have a huge influx of new players, so please go back and watch all the content creators, from after Gen Con last year's information all the way through now. You'll see a bunch of Set 3 cards leaked, which was a lot of fun. And we saw all those spirit cards in every faction. We saw some of these spirit synergies. It never once clicked in my mind until you said it that there is, in fact, a storyline aspect to it. Right, that it's thawing, that all these spirits are being released from their their trap and back out in the world. So that's really cool to hear. I love that type of stuff.
Yeah. And I believe that leaves us with one more pairing, which is the Aloy and Nekrium pairing. This one is pretty interesting. It's different than the other ones. So the other ones have like a really clear handhold to players, so a new player could open those up and easily see, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do with these two halves. With Nekrium and Aloyan, we purposely wanted to design something that might be for more of a player that's more experienced with the game, has more of an idea of how certain strategies work. So the idea that we went with was an evasive theme for the Nekrium and Aloyan. So mobility and stealth is heavily featured in those two factions in this set. And we really played into ways that you can get around your opponent's creatures so that you can attack them directly throughout the game with the Nekrium and Aloyan. So for Nekrium, we see here the Stalking Reaper. So Reaper is a forged creature that's coming back from set 1. But the Stalking keyword is a new word. So we have Stalking, which gives the creature both aggressive and stealth. So you could play the creature, it goes to the front row when you don't have the forge, it attacks your opponent directly. Next turn, your opponent does not have the forge, and you can attack them directly again with your stealth creature. And then obviously with the Reaper, whenever one of your creatures deals damage to an enemy player, it'll give that creature attack. And then we have the Assassin's Mount, which is the backside of a Soulbind card. And whenever you deal damage, combat damage to the enemy player, you get to deal 8 damage to any enemy creature with that card.
Man, that Stalking keyword is common. Oh man, you're gonna need to be playing aggressive creatures in your deck. I'm looking forward to it. Now, that's fun. I like the stuff. I like playing the stuff. I mean, one of my fun decks, has this camouflage bear. It's hilarious, and so.
So one of the cards from set 1 that was like close, but it can almost never fully unlock its potential was Spiritforge Sentinel. I truly believe that card had the potential to be dominant, but its problem was that it required to replace a card. But what made it dominant was that it was aggressive and stealth. Because it had to get the replacement to get the extra attack was the problem. This Stalking Reaper is a real problem. I'm gonna walk up and beat you over the head with a club when you're not looking, and then next turn when you're looking and you can't do anything about it, it's an even bigger club.
Oh yeah, no, I'm liking that. Yeah, I mean this is interesting because I mean if you think back in the game right now, set 1, set 2, you don't really see Necria Malloyan.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
I think this could be a lot of fun. It's going to be sneaky good.
And this Assassin's Mount. So if you're out there looking at this card and you're reading the text and you're saying that's really good, but not just for one card. It is a soulbind. So this, I'm assuming that this thing's coming in for free and then gets transformed to make the Assassin's Mount. So just keep that in mind, that you're not just playing Assassin's Mount as a card. It's a soulbind that's coming in. And so this looks very good.
Yeah. And really the whole soulbind package for it is really good. So the spell gives your one of your creatures stealth, and then it gives the opposing creature defender that turn. At the higher levels, it grants the creature attack, and it does the same thing. And at the first level, it puts in the Assassin's Cliff, which has a similar effect to the Assassin's Mount, but it deals 4 damage instead of 8 damage on the first side.
I'm going to need another... anybody out there got a DFD deck? I need a new one.
So if the friendly neighborhood Tater Tot Eat a Lot is out there listening, that might be the Alolan card that helps bring him up top. That sounds really powerful. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and actually, there's a secret 4th design principle for the last winter, which was make Alolan good.
Oh.
So I'm looking
Nice.
forward to it. I played in the, I think it was 2 of them, of the last winter events you guys put on, and it was so much fun. I really liked the sealed kind of structure of it and the play of it, which I really like limited. And I was talking to Ryan, like I think set 3 is going to be the funnest limited experience. So I'm looking forward to it. This will be awesome.
So, and there's a lot more to explore, obviously, because there's lots of cards in every faction that will support each of these different combinations. And also, of course, there are the blighted Forgeborn, which we have not talked too much about, but those are really fun.
Yeah, we may jump to those. I do want to just throw out there, like, look, we asked you what kind of competitive pairings, like pairings or combinations of cards could you think of that you think has a chance of being competitive? As a developer for the last winter, and you gave us a combination for every single faction pairing that exists in the game. I think that alone stands pretty tall. And my honest opinion is 5 of those 6 are undoubtedly very powerful. The only one I'm not 100% convinced on, I think, is the Spirit Synergy with the Necromutera. Not to say that there's not other things that are going to help them float above, but I also feel like that's okay. Like, Necromutera has a little bit had its time, and I'm not saying they're out. I'm not ruling them out. The Disney strategy isn't dead. But the level 1s needing a spirit in your banish pile, I think, is a little bit of a hard ask sometimes, because oftentimes you're not getting that on your first cycle through. But I do just want to say that I think that's a pretty powerful stance that you gave us a combination from every pairing, and they all look pretty solid. But
and that was also part of the dev philosophy is Necromutera life gain is so prevalent that we wanted to do something that would not be so backbreakingly good for the last winter for that pairing. Obviously, there's really powerful cards in that pairing. One that we have not talked about here was the Caller of Souls. which at level 1 is deploy. You get to upgrade a card in your hand. It's a Necrogram creature. You get to upgrade a card in your hand or a card in your discard pile. And then at level 2, you get to do both of those. And then at level 3, if you have 3 or more spirits in your banished pile, you can activate to destroy all of your enemies' creatures.
Yeah, and to be fair, we've seen there are still some pretty nasty Necrim and Utera cards in the last winter. And what you also mentioned before was the Exalted. As we kind of looked at it, Greg, I think you and I have, at least I've settled on it in some of our discussions we've talked about. We think that Necrim and Utera probably have the best, they're the highest potential for competitive Forgeborns in the Exalted category in Cersei and Nova.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of just I don't think Necri Mutera is going to go away. I know there's a spirit synergy, but there were just some really solid cards in those sets that I played with, like Hantu. Yeah. You mentioned the Cultivating Guardian earlier, so I think there's going to be some really fun things. And I think the spirit thing, again, I'm looking forward to the spirit thing. But the green has some of those upgrade creature mechanics, so it could be easily just upgrade one of your spirits right into the discard pile and you're good to go.
But there definitely was definitely an effort there, a conscious effort to just not give them the life gain synergies for this.
And I think that's most of us know that that's probably a fair assessment and a good goal. One other question I kind of had just brewing was, you mentioned it a little bit with the Mastodon, and so I want to dig into that just a little bit further. What, if you can share, what cards or combination of cards really kind of showed that they were too powerful in your original iteration of the cards so that you had to scale them back a little bit? And really I'm asking this so I could just see the design philosophy that you created something, you tested it, it was a little too much, and then how did you decide the method to tone it down?
Sure. Yep. So for every set, we have a lead designer and a lead developer. So I was the lead designer for the last winter, and the lead developer was Jason. So Jason, he was a Magic pro from back in the day, so he has a lot of experience with high-level gameplay. So we really work in tandem a lot with sets to make sure that whatever we're releasing out in the public doesn't just completely break the game. But one example of a card other than Mastodon is the Necro Tower, which is another Soulbind card. So the Necro Tower comes into play with a creature, and the creature makes you deal damage to one of your other creatures, and then give the creature plus health. But in the Exalt lane, it's whenever a creature in this lane is dealt damage, you put an energy counter on it. And so every time a creature in that lane is dealt damage, it gets more energy counters. And then at the third level of the creature that brought the Soulbind into play, it transforms over. And the way it reads now is you activate it and remove any number of counters from the Necro Tower to destroy an enemy creature with a level lower than the number of counters you removed. Originally, the Necro Tower said activate, remove an energy counter from this destroy an enemy creature. So that card was really powerful. It's basically, as soon as you got that on the board, it was pretty much game over at that point. You just ping off your opponent's creatures every turn. So that one needed to be toned down to have some way where the number of energy on it mattered more rather than it just a ping off for one destroy. The reason, so the way that we went about that is we explored multiple paths. We explored giving it minus attack and minus health, which didn't feel as exciting as destroying an enemy creature. And we also tried a approach where it's like a board-wide wipe, similar to the current version, which is remove a number of counters from it and then destroy enemy creatures with a level equal to or combined to that level. But we decided that ultimately it was too good and we needed to pare it down, so now it only destroys enemy creatures with less than the number of energy counters you remove from it. So that would probably be the card that got the biggest downgrade in development is the Necro Tower.
Yeah, I'll admit when you said the Necro Tower and you said, essentially as a creature's damaged in the lane, you put a counter on this, and in my head all of a sudden it started spinning. Okay, we're gonna use these counters, and I instantly went to the combo players of the game, and I said like they're gonna find a way to initiate like shambling or savant damage onto this thing to do, like excessive amount of damage to one thing to just build up counters and just start doing some crazy shenanigans. And so it looks like you designed it in a way now that you still left that open. If someone could find that loophole to create an excessive amount of tokens, you still enabled them to destroy the enemy's entire board. But you have to get to that level to be able to destroy the entire board. Otherwise, you're probably just destroying 2, maybe 3 creatures throughout its life.
Yeah.
So that seemed like a really, really nicely done, well thought out, like mitigated approach that also still enables those combo players to try to figure out the fun way to do something.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, the Necro Tower was definitely the peak. Obviously, the Blighted Forgeborn had a lot of testing done with them because they were such a featured part of the set. And so we went through several just whole-scale mechanical iterations for how they would function by themselves. Really early on, they actually started with their Exalt in play at the start of the game. And it would gain the energy counters required to transform your Forgeborn just from the start of the game and going forward. But that left some interesting questions out on the table, like it really would warp a lot of aspects of the game if from the start you had this Exalt in the play and you're really playing like this version of the game over here while your opponent's playing another version of the game on their end of the table. It also made it so that you could just transform your Forgeborn within the first deck cycle, and you'd have this very terrifying, powerful version of the Forgeborn in cycles 2, 3, and 4. So just through testing different iterations of that is where we landed on that the level 2 ability on the Forgeborn brings in the Exalt, and then on the backside it has an ability that triggers whenever it transforms. So you're giving up a ability at level 2, but you're still going to get a third Forgeborn ability when you flip the creature over.
Yeah, the other interesting take on that is I think having it start in play really like ramps up some of those exalted decks as well.
Yeah.
Where you'd have that on like turn 1 and being able to start hitting the exalted stuff without having to spend, a turn setting it up. So
yeah.
I think I do want to talk about those exalted Forgeborns just a little bit. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture up here to show. I probably should have snagged one. But before we do that, I do want to throw out to anyone watching this video, we are giving away another code for the Steam Early Access Steam client to play Solforge Fusion on the digital client. So what I would like you to do to enter the raffle, kind of like last week, go ahead and tell us which one of these combinations that Nick brought to us today to talk about. The Tempest Utera, the Necrim Utera, Necrim Tempest. Throughout all of these faction pairings, which one are you the most excited about? Which one do you think is going to be either really fun to play or the most competitive? Go ahead and just tell us which one you think has the chops to make it or you're excited about, however that is. Throw that in the comments below. You'll be instantly entered into the raffle. Same thing as before. Monday evening we're going to do that raffle, reach out to you directly, whoever wins, so that we can get you on the client as quickly as possible. That being said, shout out to Rich P 2927. He was the winner last week, got his code, and hopefully he had mentioned in the comments that he already had a code, but he has a friend who he plays with all the time over tabletop, like physical tabletop over the kitchen countertop, and wanted to give a code to his friend. We're all about that. If you have a code, but you know someone who would use it, who would get into the game, by all means, please comment, and we'll give you the code. No questions asked. We just want to get more people playing the game. So just have that shout out there really quick. Pivot back to the Exalted Forgeborn. So we talked about like playtesting things and how you went through a lot of design iterations with these. I think what has people worried about most competitively isn't going to matter for limited formats, especially when you're talking about last winter limited formats. What people are going to be concerned about is the mixing of different sets and 2 cards, Mantis and Forge Seal. So how did those go into your playtesting and then affect the design, or how did that work, or were they not considerations?
Yeah, so at one base level, they were not huge concerns because we knew that we were never going to reprint those cards.
Fair.
But at the same time, you have to deal with that they exist within the game already. So the way that we did that is we just simply tested the Forgeborn to see what felt like a good pacing for when you could transform the Forgeborn, and how that would play off of Mantis and Forge Seal. So one way that we considered it was they don't really get to do anything on their level 1 version in those decks, except to get the Exalt earlier in the play, which can help the tempo of the deck by introducing the Exalt earlier, but it doesn't have an immediate effect on the game board like how just a normal Forgeborn ability would work. The other aspect is once it flips over, your creature doesn't have a level 2 ability anymore. And so if you missed your Forge Seal or your Mantis by that point, then they're not really going to be that helpful in that round of the game. Those were really the main ways that we addressed thinking about them. I definitely think that it's going to be an exciting option to put your Forge Seal and Mantis together with Cersei, so they could only really go in Cersei, Ironbeard, or Oros. Not Oros, they could go with Sunder. Yeah. You can't have both be betrayers in your other deck, so you can only have one betrayer to get the other option with Oros. So I think that I hope it's actually going to have some impact on the game, just because I think it's important that the metagame evolve after every set is released. And it's something that we can address with a future design if we need to. But I think that every set you want the most exciting thing in the set to be also the most powerful thing, is my feeling on the situation. I think that if a game really emphasizes a type of strategy that isn't a lot of fun to actually play, then you're really hurting your game overall. While here we have this big exciting moment, boom, your Forgeborn transformed into this corrupted version. And if that ends up being the most powerful thing moving forward from the last winter, then I think that's a net positive for the game.
I will say I'm glad you corrected me. I kept saying Nova and Cersei. Yeah, Cersei is the blighted, the exalted Forgeborn that I have concerns about with the Forge Seal Mantis. But the Nova, not exalted, I think her ability at Cycle 4 is going to be powerful enough that is going to entice people to bring out Betrayer Mantises. I know that there's quite a few players that have been stocking Betrayer Mantises. And if they haven't realized it yet or not, I think Nova in the last winter is the one that they're waiting for to use that with.
Yeah.
The interesting thing with that, though, I mean, is like, you won't be able to pair it with the Betrayer Mantis and Krogius.
Right.
And so that's going to diminish it down. And I like your, the thought, like, yes, you can bring Mantis and Forge Seal in with these blighted Forgeborns, but you will take a tempo hit, unlike in with non blighted versions. And so, is that tempo hit detrimental enough not to take them, or it will slow you down either way, whether even you play it first round or not. It could slow you down, but if you're stuck with it, then you're stuck with it, and you may not even see those. So that is an interesting take, and yeah, I could see how you're getting a little bit more. You're adding a little bit more risk to playing those with the blighted than you normally would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's gonna shape up maybe kind of how we saw Set 1 upgrade synergies. Like it's gonna be that fine line where they almost worked, or or they are gonna work. I think that's a good way to put it. Like you take that tempo hit, is it enough to deter you or not, or work out or not? And like what we see work at the beginning of the last winter is not what we're gonna know works towards the 6 months down the road of the last winter. Like that meta, if you will, is gonna evolve a little bit. People are gonna find the faster decks. We saw that. Set 2, perhaps Battle for White Fang Pass is a bad example because literally the first tournament ever won was Rumble Spark. But Set 2 decks increasingly got faster and faster and faster and faster. The more Set 2 decks we opened as a globally, the decks got faster and faster and faster. So we'll likely see a similar thing happen with the last winter. It's just interesting to see where that strategy will kind of fall. The blighted Mantis Forge Seal.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how the metagame shakes out once the last winter hits.
Well, we're approaching the hour mark here, which is nothing new for us. We always strive for fast and hard-hitting information, and we always like to ramble. That's just kind of Greg and I, what we do. But I do want to pass it back to you, Nick, one last time. If there's anything else that, a parting shot you want to throw, a piece of information, the floor is yours to talk the last winter, Solforge Fusion, Stoneblade, however you'd like, before we tap out here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm really excited for people to get the chance to play with the last winter. If you back the Kickstarter, it's awesome. You're gonna get last winter product. If not, come to FuseFest. Like, it's gonna be a blast to come to FuseFest. You're gonna get to get the last winter cards there before it hits store shelves, and I really think it's gonna be an awesome experience. There's the Blighted Forgeborn. There are all these different fun faction pairings, and we get to delve deeper into the story, both within this set and also with the storyline event that we're going to have at FuseFest.
Nice. Awesome. Appreciate it. Greg, any last comments?
No, just looking forward to meeting everybody up at FuseFest. So yeah, come out. If you get there early, again, go to the Discord, let us know. We're going to try to get together Friday evening. Sounds like that is happening. So that's all I got.
Awesome. Well, we can't part off here without, thanking you, Nick, for your time and your efforts that went into this set and your outreach to the community. You're one of, a handful of Stoneblade employees that's always out on the Discord, active, talking, communicating, interacting. So just really appreciate all that you do.
Awesome. Yeah, I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate everything all the content creators do. Like, you guys are definitely lifeblood of this game up to this point, and I really appreciate all the support that you guys give.
All right. With that being said, I think that's it for us this week. We'll catch you next week, and make sure you leave a comment below. All right. Thanks.
Bye.
See you, everyone.
Thanks for attending this lesson of the Forgeborn Finishing School. If you liked this video, please subscribe, comment, or consider donating to our Patreon account. We look forward to our next lesson.